What's up? Christian Zielinski here with the 479 Hogcast, and it's time we talk about Arkansas baseball. Now, they're sitting at 12-5 on the year. The problem is 4 of those losses have happened at home at Baum-Walker Stadium. That ties the total amount of losses they had all last year at home. SEC play, postseason, everything. We've already tied the number of losses we took at home all season. So something I'm kind of wondering about, is it panic time? They had that tough loss to Arkansas State. That was the 12-4 loss in that Tuesday game. And what's really upsetting, I came on here and I was like, man, this just sucks, because they're looking so good and they have a chance to really be at the top of the SEC entering SEC play. And that just wasn't going to happen. And then they came back, and that was a 2-game series, Tuesday and Wednesday. They came back. They didn't look good in the next game, but they got the win. Pitching was excellent. That's what won them that game. They won 1-0 in that game. Then they had the opening night, Friday night loss to UT Arlington. And that kind of turned the warning sign on a little bit. Like, okay, that might have not been a fluke thing. This team might actually have some issues that they need to work out. In terms of hitting, like the pitching always has consistently looked pretty good, but the hitting just wasn't there. They couldn't hit. They were striking out. They couldn't take walks. And so that's something that you were kind of looking at in that UT Arlington game after they took that Friday night loss at home, by the way, to a team they shouldn't have lost to. But then they came back and they won the Saturday and Sunday game. They ended up winning the series 2-1 and looked really dominant, really excellent in those 2 games. You're like, okay, maybe that was just 2 games. They kind of went off the rail a little bit, and now they've got it back together, right? And then there's that midweek game against Oral Roberts. I think they won that game. What was that, 7-1? I think 8-1, 7-1, something like that. They looked pretty good in that one. They won that game. And then you get to the Stetson series. The first 2 games, I'm on here, like after that Saturday game, they won both those games, the Friday and Saturday game against Stetson. And they outscored them 20-2 over the span of both those games. And so you're kind of like, okay, I come on here and I'm like, okay, this is going good. I think they actually got it figured out. Let's just win these last 2 games because it was a 4-game series. It wasn't your traditional 3-game series. Basically, they did 4 games against Stetson and skipped the midweek game. Is kind of how they were doing it. So that Monday game was kind of their midweek game for this week. So after that Saturday game, I'm walking around doing the post-game reaction. I'm like, okay, I think they've got it figured out. Just take care of business, win these last 2, go into SEC play looking strong. Nobody's going to really say anything. And what do? In perfect Razorback style, they come out on Sunday and lose the game. It wasn't a good game. They lost it. Again, they couldn't hit the ball. They kept striking out. They couldn't take their walks. It's just like the same issues that you thought they had fixed, or at least they were starting to get fixed, came back and looked like it was the first game of the year. Like they haven't played baseball before. And then that Monday game, which I went to, was more of the same. They just didn't look good. They came out in the first inning, Stetson did, and scored 4. One of those was a 2 or 3 run homer, and they're up 4-0 in the first. And you're like, oh man, what's this about to be? And then Arkansas comes back. They respond a little bit. They have a good inning or 2, and then Stetson scores again. They score 2 more, and they just couldn't hold on. Arkansas lost that one 6-4. And that's the last game they played. So they're coming off 2 losses now, going into SEC play. And that's really not good. That's something you don't want to do. You want to go into SEC play looking strong, like you know what you're doing. Because a team like Mississippi State comes in here, ranked number 3, that's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe to get blown out of your own stadium on a Friday night. And so that's kind of the big test. This is the big test. Obviously, we're disappointed with the Hogs. 12-5 on the year already. You might be thinking, that's 7 games, about 500. They're doing pretty good. But they've played opponents that, honestly, they should have beat everybody that they've played. So even in Arlington, TCU isn't even that good. They should easily be undefeated right now. And I understand that doesn't happen all the time, but Texas has done it. Texas is undefeated, right? So I think this is a big test. I mean, obviously, if Arkansas goes into this weekend and gets swept by Mississippi State 0-3, that's warning. Like that's beyond warning. That is panic time in Fayetteville. This team is not good at all. Panic time. This team is not good. And honestly, changes should be considered, aka Nate Thompson. Now, also, you have to ask yourself, well, what if Arkansas goes 1-2? Right? Maybe they drop the opener, and then they come back, win on Saturday, and then, you know what? They just couldn't get it together. They end up losing on Sunday. Mississippi State wins the series 1-2. Mississippi State's ranked number 3 in the nation. But you're at home. It's like, at that point, honestly, that's kind of what I'm expecting. Based on how they performed so far, my expectation is they go 1-2. They win one of the 3 games against Mississippi State this weekend. Based on what I've seen so far, especially based on what I've seen last weekend versus Stetson, they win 1 of 3 against Mississippi State. That's kind of where my expectations are. Obviously, that's still disappointing, right? Because they lose the series, especially at home. That's disappointing. But I'm expecting that, if that makes sense. Like, if I had to put money on it right now, how many games Arkansas can win? I'm going to say they're going to go 1-2. They're going to win one of these 3 against Mississippi State. Now, 2-1, they win the series. They drop 1 game, whatever. I think that's good. I mean, the Mississippi State is a good team. They've only lost, they're 15-2 on the year, and one of those losses came to number 1 ranked UCLA in a extra innings game. A game they probably should have won, honestly. That was a lot of umpire screwery there. We'll get into that later. But I think if they can get the series win, I think that's positive. I mean, that's something you can look at and be like, okay, that's a good thing. That should, as this team is looking right now, I think a series win should exceed your expectations. That should be a good thing. Not just okay, they did what they should do. Mississippi State's a good team. I think if they win the series, that's reason to be positive about this team. And obviously, if they sweep Mississippi State, that would be an Arkansas thing to do too. I wouldn't be surprised. But you would love to see that. I don't think that's going to happen. My expectation is they win 1 game of 3. Now, if they get swept, that is bad, right? That's bad. I mean, you're playing at home. I don't care if you're playing the number 1 ranked team, undefeated team in the country. At Baum-Walker Stadium, you should never lose a series, and they did that against Stetson. I mean, technically they tied the series, whatever you want to say, but they should never do that either. First time since 2014 they lost or tied a non-conference home series. Unbelievable. But that's kind of my expectation. They go 1. I don't think they'll win the series. I hope they do, but I don't think they will. But if they get swept, I think that's reason for concern, and we'll talk about that later. But man, we'll see 2 post-game reactions coming on Friday. 1 for the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament for the basketball team. Whoever they're playing is to be determined. Likely it's going to be Texas A&M, but it could also be South Carolina or Oklahoma, depending on who. It'll be one of those 3. So we'll see what happens. And then obviously post-game reaction coming after the Mississippi State baseball game. That game is going to be at 6 o'clock. They actually schedule these games pretty good. So the baseball game is going to be 6 o'clock on the SEC Network Plus. And then the basketball game is scheduled for 8:30. But we all know it's not actually going to start at that time with the SEC starting. And then also you're playing the SEC tournament in the same arena. So they have to have, I believe it's 25 minutes in between games. So expect that game to probably be around 9 p.m. starting. 9 p.m., maybe a little later is what I expect. So it's going to be pretty close to the end of that baseball game. So it actually worked out pretty well. So good Friday night, late Friday night, get that coffee brewing, as Curtis Wilkerson would say. But I'm Christian. Let's keep watching the 475 podcast. We'll see what happens. I expect Arkansas to lose the series against Mississippi State. I hope they don't. I hope they can at least get the series win. We'll see what Dave Van Horn is cooking up for SEC play, but definitely cause for concern for this 12-5 number 5 ranked Razorback team. We'll see how that shapes up here in a few weeks. I'm Christian Lindsay. You've been watching the 479 podcast. We'll see you in the next one. Go Hogs, baby.